show, Della Hill. KDXI St. George, Radio St. George at 100.3 FM. And we welcome you to the Extraordinary Talk Show, a show to help you understand yourself and the world from a new perspective, and in the process, help you find your own personal extraordinary. And now your host for the Extraordinary Talk Show, Della Hill.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Extraordinary Talk Show. Did you guys hear that? That was my intro music. I'm so excited. Sean here at the radio station made that for me. That was his cool voice you heard, that super awesome DJ voice, promoting me. And he's right over there. So happy Monday, and thank you, Sean. Let's get right to the Extraordinary Talk Show, because like always, I have so much to talk about and only 26 minutes. And in fact, now that I have an intro and an outro, I literally only have 26 minutes to talk, and then I'm done. Even if I'm still talking, it's going to take over. So let's jump right into this week. I have so many things I want to share with you guys, and I kind of wish I had more than 26 minutes a week to do it. But for today, let's start with a topic that you've probably heard a million times. You've probably heard it in church. You've heard people say this. But this time you're going to hear it from me, and for different reasons. At least I hope. Kate, do you want to have more empowerment in your life? Do you want to feel more empowered? Do you want to feel powerful? Do you want to feel more at peace with your life? I know for me, the answer to those questions is yes. And I hope it is for you too. If it wasn't, you probably wouldn't be listening to the show. I'm going to give you a simple formula to find that. Here's what I want you to do for our beginning exercise. Don't do this if you're driving. At least don't close your eyes if you're driving, but you can still do it in your mind. So close your eyes and picture your own body. Picture the size and shape of your own body, but instead of seeing the flesh of it, I want you to see the energy that holds you together. And this energy is even inside and outside your body. So with your eyes closed, picture this energy like it's golden white light. And this is all the energy that is you, that makes up you, that holds your cells together. But as you're looking at this body of energy, you might notice, you probably will notice, that there's dark spots, even holes of dark energy. And this, my friends, is the hurt and the pain that you are carrying around with you. Okay, you can open your eyes, but remember that image because we're going to come back to it. You cannot be whole if you are carrying hurt and pain. And now we get to today's topic. This is why forgiveness is so critical. You know, I went to church as a kid, and they always said you have to forgive because God says so. He's going to forgive who he wants, but you're required to forgive everybody. And I always thought that was kind of odd. I had questions about that. What they never taught me in church, and not that churches, and you know, guys, I love church and I love all the churches, and I think that they all teach wonderful things and they help people to be better. So please don't infer that as me speaking negatively about church, because I love church. But what they didn't teach me, and that I've taken this many years of my life to figure out, is that I can't be whole if I'm carrying hurt and pain, just like you can't be whole if you're carrying hurt and pain. And you can still picture that image in your mind of your body with those holes of pain and hurt and sadness. You cannot be whole if you carry that. And if you want to talk about universal laws, which they refer to at church, but don't really go into the details and specifics of, one of our biggest universal laws is the universal law of vibration. You may not have heard of that, but you probably heard of the law of attraction. The law of attraction is secondary to the law of vibration, which means that we all have energy. We're all built of energy. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. Everything is energy. And Einstein said that if you want to attract something into your life, you just have to match your own energy to that energy. It's not science, or it's not fiction. It's actually physics that tells us that confirms that for us. So if you want to have great things in your life, you need to have great energy. And if you're carrying hurt and pain, you can't do that. So forgiveness is critical. This isn't for the other person. This isn't for the person who hurt you. They're going to have consequences. Nothing you can say or do can change those consequences that they're going to have, because there's universal laws of reciprocity also. So if somebody creates hurt and pain for another person, that person, the person who caused it, is going to have consequences that the person they hurt has nothing to do with. So you can even just step back and say, you know what? Whatever their consequences are going to happen. It doesn't matter to me. You don't need to hold on to your pain until they get their consequences. That doesn't serve them, and it certainly doesn't serve you. So how do we get rid of those holes in the dark spots in our energy? Let's go back to Buddha and why these dark spots matter in your energy. Buddha said that holding on to anger for someone is like holding on to a coal with the intention of throwing it at that person. In the end, you're the one who gets burned. And there's another similar quote that says, holding a grudge is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. Can you see where we get those holes in our energy when we're holding on to that hurt and that pain? So something happened to a friend of somebody I know the other day, friend of mine, somebody I know. They were at dinner with their family, and their waitress gave them the wrong bill. And they didn't even look at it. They just paid it. It wasn't until they got home that they realized it was the wrong bill and they'd paid the wrong amount. They then had a choice right there in that moment. And it's a choice that you have probably hundreds of times a day. Are you going to be angry about that thing that happened to you that wasn't fair and it wasn't your fault? Or are you going to look at it as an opportunity for growth, because everything is an opportunity for growth? So one option is to call the restaurant back and be furious and be angry and be so upset that it took 20 minutes to fix that problem, and then decide you're never going to trust anyone ever again because your bill was wrong. Or you can get home, realize it's wrong, call the restaurant and go, wow, that only took 20 minutes to fix. No big deal. No harm done. Everything's fine. And automatically, without even having to think, I forgive that person, just have that, what they call a spirit of forgiveness, that is just so automatic. But think of those two things that you could do in the same situation. And one of them leaves you hurting and angry and not trusting. And the other one lifts you up and makes you better and makes you stronger and allows you to move forward with no weight, with nothing, no weight on your shoulders, nothing that you have to carry, nothing that's going to hold you back. And in every situation, you have the option to make that choice. Some of us feel like we've been hurt so badly that we can never let go of that pain, that we can never forgive that pain. But I want you to think of the phrase, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Because you can change the word from fool to hurt. Hurt me once, shame on you. Hurt me twice, shame on me. So let's say that I have, somebody does me wrong. Maybe they treat me poorly in a business deal, whatever. I know that the law of reciprocity and the law of retribution in the universe is going to make sure that they have natural consequences for treating me badly. I can set that aside. It is not upon me to ensure that they have consequences. It's going to happen. I don't need to worry about it. What I do need to worry about is how many times am I going to let them hurt me? The first time that they did me wrong, they hurt me. If I allow them to continue hurting me, if I keep holding on to that pain and anger so that it stretches out and keeps hurting me, that's shame on me, man. The first time the hurt happens, it happens. And we still have to choose, am I going to hold on to this hurt and let it keep hurting me, or am I going to forgive it? The trick is to be able to forgive it, or at least as time goes on down the road to realize, you know what, I'm still hurting about this. Whatever's happening to that other person is happening to them. It doesn't matter. What's happening to them is beside the point. What matters is what's happening to me, that I'm still hurt. I'm still carrying this pain. I'm still carrying this anger. That only hurts me. Hurt me once, shame on you. Hurt me twice, it's my own fault for holding on to that and maintaining it and not doing things in my life to change it so that that doesn't happen again. Guys, that's very, very powerful. And I give you permission to let go of that pain and that hurt, to no longer carry it. I give you permission to trust that the universe is going to make sure that that person has consequences. And then wash your hands of it. You don't need to hold on to that anymore. And it's hurting you. It's holding you back because you're holding on to that pain. One thing that happens to us a lot when we get hurt is we get this I'll show you mentality. And the fun thing about this I'll show you mentality is that it can go one of two ways. Let me tell you a quick story about a time that happened to me. I was young, probably between the ages of 7 and 10. I don't remember exactly. And my sister had a couple friends over, and they were people that I liked. They were a little bit older than me. They were cooler, and I wanted to hang out with them. They didn't let me hang out with them. My sister and her friends said no. They might have even said something snarky because girls do that. And they went downstairs to my sister's room. I was devastated. I was hurt, and I was going to show them that I was hurt. And I'll tell you what I did. So my parents' bedroom was directly above my sister's bedroom, and the way that the heating vents worked, you could see down through the heating vent into my sister's room. I laid on the floor in my parents' bedroom, right next to the heating vent, where I knew that my sister and her friends could hear me in her bedroom right below, and I laid there and sang, "Nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I'm gonna go eat worms." And I sang that whole song like 3 times through. I probably still remember all the words. I was going to show them how hurt I was. Well, do you think that they cared? Do you think that me doing that caused them to come upstairs and apologize to me and invite me in? No, it didn't, because I was in victim stance. I was making myself pitiful. Do you think that they wanted to invite me in when I was in victim stance and acting pitiful? Of course they didn't. I can't even blame them for that. And by the way, I completely forgive my sister and her friends for everything that happened that day. It was years ago, and I no longer need to carry that. What I could have done in that case was done something positive or something creative. Maybe I could have baked cookies, and then they would have come and asked me if they could have some, and I could have worked myself in that way. Instead, I took the pitiful route out. I chose victim stance. And how pathetic was that? And I'm not saying I'm pathetic, because I'm an awesome person who did a pathetic thing when I was 10 years old. But I recognize now that that way of I'll show them didn't work. It wasn't effective. It only hurt me and held me back when I could have made a better choice that might have had a much better result. Now, like I said, the I'll show you mentality can go more than one direction. One of my favorite examples of this is the actor, comedian, awesome man, Will Smith. When he was 16 years old, he had a girlfriend who broke up with him. And she told him, I'm breaking up with you because you are never going to accomplish anything in your life. Well, Will Smith was probably devastated. This girl that he had feelings for, that he cared about, kicked him to the curb and told him, you're never going to amount to anything. He went home devastated that night. I can only imagine what was in his mind and his heart as he was suffering that night. And you know what he did? He said, I'm going to show her. Maybe, I don't know how long it took him to get to that point, because he probably had to process some pretty painful emotions. The point was, he processed them, he kept going, and he got to that point of, you know what? I'm going to show her. And do you know what Will Smith has done since then? I couldn't list in the next 12 minutes and 10 seconds that I have all of the things that Will Smith has done to show her. And what Will Smith accomplished, in addition to all of the life that he's created and the way that he has, and his comedy, his acting, his support has changed the world, he got to a point where he could not only forgive that girl, but he could actually be grateful to her. You know what? I'm grateful to that girl. I'm glad that that girl broke up with Will Smith that day and told him, you're never going to amount to anything. Because her doing that caused Will Smith to become empowered, to say, I'm going to show her. And he didn't lay on the floor by a heater vent singing, nobody likes me, everybody hates me. He went and became one of the most popular actors and comedians that we have in the world today. His children are actors and comedians. His wife is a successful actress. They have an amazing family together, and they are changing the world through the things that they're doing, because one girl once told him, you're never going to amount to anything. And he said, you know what? I'm going to show you. He has no room for hurt and anger towards that girl. I promise you he doesn't. I promise you he is grateful to her for saying that to him, because it was her saying that to him that gave him the motivation and the inspiration to become the man that he has become. And I'm grateful for that. So look at that picture of how you can go from hurt to grand empowerment. And maybe for you, maybe what that means for you, maybe you're not interested in becoming one of the most popular actors in the whole world. Maybe you're interested in having peace in your life. Maybe you're interested in having peace in your mind. Maybe you're interested in being able to close your eyes and see your body of energy full of light with no holes in it. And if you've never experienced that, and chances are you probably haven't, because you've probably never even done it before today, that is an amazing feeling. That feeling is bliss. That's what bliss feels like, is to have so much clarity in your positivity and in your energy and in the love that you are filled with, that you have no room for hurt and pain, that you can only be love. That is powerful. And as I said, I want to say this again. When you choose to forgive someone, you are not forgiving them of the consequences of their actions. You don't have that power. You cannot wipe away the consequences of their actions because there's the laws of the universe, just like the law of vibration and the law of attraction, demand that there is a restitution paid. And it's not up to you to cause it. It's not up to you to cost it. It's up to you to let it be, to trust that the universe or God or however you envision that, whatever that means to you, has got this. Because really, do you think you can do a better job making that person pay than God can? Guarantee you can't. They will pay restitution one way or the other. You hurting over that has no effect on how much restitution they have to pay. It really doesn't. And if you're thinking that you, by holding on to that hurt, can cost them more, that is a lie. That's a lie you're telling yourself. And all that lie is doing is causing you to have more hurt and pain. You're not extending their consequence, my friend. You're extending your own consequence. You are the one holding on to the hurt and pain. They may have been the one that caused it, but you're the one that's holding on to it. And if you want that bliss, that peace of mind, you have got to let that go. We'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. I want to tell you another story. There was a man who had been abused by a relative when he was a child. When he was a little kid, he'd been abused. And 50 years later, this relative was still alive. The man was still alive. He was now a man, not a little boy. And he went through a special forgiveness program, a special forgiveness process. And he had, for 50 years, held on to the hurt and this pain that had been caused to him as a child. This was not this kid's fault. He didn't ask for this to happen. But he was still carrying the hurt from it. And this relative had never apologized. And finally he said, you know what? I'm 50 years old. I've been hurting for half of a century. It's time to let it go. And he, through some powerful focus, was able to release it, was able to let it go, was able to walk away from it. And he felt more peace and more bliss that day in that moment than he had ever felt in his life. And that alone was enough. But something amazing happened. The next day, he received a message from that family member. The next day, within 24 hours of him releasing his hurt and pain and giving forgiveness, he received a message from that family member, and it was a video. And it was a video of that family member apologizing. Do you think that was a coincidence? Because I don't believe in coincidences like that. There's no way that after 50 years, within a 24-hour period, this man forgave and then was apologized to. And maybe he was waiting for the apology so that he could forgive, but it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it does, but not always. There's three things that happen, or three ways that the people who hurt you react. There's three ways this can happen. One is they don't even know they hurt you. And they can never be sorry about it if they don't know. A lot of times if somebody hurts you, somebody says something and you go to them and you say, hey, that hurt me. They're very likely to apologize because they didn't even know that it hurt you. And then they're going to feel really bad about it. A lot of times if somebody doesn't see you in traffic and they cut you off, they didn't see you before they cut you off. Chances are they didn't see you after they cut you off. You could be furious all day long. They're never even going to know. But you've probably been that person too. I have. You've probably cut somebody off in traffic and not realized it. So you got to realize we're all human. We all make mistakes and have a little bit of compassion for each other. I know that I've cut people off in traffic. So next time that happens, hear my voice. I'm sorry. That was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. And you can think, okay, Della, I forgive you. That's all you got to do. That might have been me. That might have been somebody else. But give some forgiveness anyway, because it doesn't benefit you at all to hold on to that hurt. Another way that people react is that they are sorry. If they know about it, if they're aware of it, they may apologize. I had a time not very long ago where I was pretty upset with my husband. And he sent me an email. And in that email, he apologized. And all of the anger and hurt that I had been holding because I was upset with him, the minute I read that email, it dissolved. I was no longer able to hold on to my hurt when I saw how apologetic he was. Now, we don't always get that, but once in a while you will. And that's a pretty awesome thing. But realize that that's going to be less than the rest of the times. The other time, the third way, is that people know that they hurt you and they don't care. That's what's going to happen more often. And maybe they think that they hurt you only a little bit, but to you it actually was a lot. Maybe they knew it was going to be inconveniencing for you, but it actually ended up being awful for you. And they still don't care. Guess what? If you can choose to hold on to that, you can choose to be angry with them. It's never going to change. Your anger, your hurt is never going to change how they feel about it. And that's when you got to say, you know what? I'm going to let the laws of the universe and God, or whatever you see it, I'm going to let that handle that situation because I can't. That's when you surrender. That's when you say, I do not have the power in me to be able to handle that. So I'm going to let it go. And all I'm going to worry about is the hurt and pain that I don't want to feel anymore, and let that go. So how do you let that go? Let's go back to that picture that you had in your mind at the very beginning. You can close your eyes as long as you're not driving, or if you're not doing anything that would be unsafe to close your eyes to do. And again, see that energy body, that body of energy of your own body, your own picture of yourself that you can see in your mind, where you can see those dark spots. Some are big, some are little. You might have huge ones because you're carrying a lot of hurt and pain. While you're visualizing that, I want you to also think of something that you're grateful for, something that made you happy in the last 24 hours. If you can't think of anything in the last 24 hours, go for the last week. Think of something that made you happy. Think of something that you can be grateful for. It can be a word, a gift, a situation, anything. It can be the stars in the sky, that the sun came up this morning. And while you're thinking of that thing that you're grateful for, feel that gratitude and see that gratitude sprinkle over the body of energy that you're visualizing, and just sink in to all of those dark spots, all of those holes, all of those empty places. Release them. Let them go. Say, I release this. I don't need this. I am better, filled with gratitude. And see that gratitude like golden sprinkles falling down over your head, falling into all of those places, filling them up, illuminating them. Say it again. All of this hurt is not serving me. I choose strength. I choose empowerment. I choose forgiveness. I let this go. I choose to live my life with love, with trust. And see all of your gratitude floating down, filtering down, soaking into your energy body. And when you're done with that, go ahead and open your eyes. Another thing that's really important that we're probably going to have to talk about in another show because we only have 50 seconds left. The most important person that you can ever forgive, the one person that matters more than anything, is to forgive yourself. And the hard part of that is that you are the hardest person to forgive. So focus on that. Put some thought into that. Be aware of the things that you are upset about yourself, and prepare to forgive yourself. Guys, this is Della Hill with the Extraordinary Talk Show. And remember, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm trying to get you to think for yourself.
You've been listening to The Extraordinary Talk Show with Della Hill. Search YouTube and Facebook, Spotify, or Podbean for video and podcasts of this show, or go to radiostgeorge.com. We'll see you next week for another edition of The Extraordinary Talk Show.
KDXI, St. George.